Welcome to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. I'm Collin Whitchurch, joined by Sean Zerillo to look at Tuesday's MLB playoff slate. That is to say, the one game that we have today. We have Game 2 of the NLCS between the Milwaukee Brewers and Los Angeles Dodgers, taking place in Milwaukee. And a good pitching matchup. Two aces on the mound. I guess if Blake Snell's the Dodgers ace, Yamamoto's 1B to Snell's 1A at this point, and then Freddie Peralta, the one steady Freddie for the Brewers in that rotation on the mound for Milwaukee. The Brewers trying to avoid going down 0-2 at home, just like the Blue Jays went down 0-2 at home against Seattle. Really interesting stats regarding that specific situation, what the Blue Jays are now facing and what the Brewers are trying to avoid facing. 24 of the 27 teams to go up 2-0 on the road have won their series. There's been 3 times. Put it more simply, there have been 3 times where a team has lost the first 2 games of a best-of-7 at home and come back to win the series. They were all 3 in the World Series. The 85 Royals against the Cardinals, the 86 Mets, and then the 96 Yankees against the Braves. Lost the first 2 games of the World Series at home, came back to win that series. So really big Game 2 tonight in Milwaukee. The Dodgers minus 126 favorites. The Brewers plus 104. Underdogs at home again. Sean, I think you said about a week ago that you would make the Dodgers favorites in any potential playoff game the rest of the way. That has played out thus far. Total is 7.5. We're getting plus money on the over right now. Plus 102 at DraftKings, minus 124 to the under. Sean, it's kind of seemed these first couple of days that it's kind of a tale of 2 series between the AL and the NL. AL is an over series, NL is an under series. I know you were on the under last night in Milwaukee. That hit. Nice 2-0 day for you on the pod. Is it another under day for you, or are you going in another direction here?
No, I make this total about 7.4, so no bet on the total for me today. The market's sitting 7 minus 120 over, 7.5 minus 120 under. So I think everybody kind of projects it between 7 and 7.5, depending on, how aggressively I project these pitchers, how well I expect them to perform. I could put it at 7. I could put it at 7.5. So I think this total should either be 7 or 7.5, and the juice should be reflective of where it is currently. So no bet for me on the total today. As I mentioned yesterday, I think there will be a spot or 2 in this series. If it's going to go 5 or 6 games where one of these teams just kind of punts the back half of a game with their bullpen if they fall behind. So just keep that in mind as well. There may be a game that looks like a dead under the whole way where one of the teams just sort of gives it away with their bullpen because they're already behind. But I do like the Dodgers for Game 2. And the easiest and most simplistic way I can handicap this and express why the Dodgers are definitively a value side here. We've talked about in the playoffs, the beauty of getting the same matchup in the same ballpark and being able to compare the line from one game to another game, again, in the same ballpark. You don't even have to do it just for HFA. It's very similar to when you're betting the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs. Same matchup, same venue. You already know what the line should be based upon where the market closed. Well, Yamamoto and Peralta faced each other on July 7th, except for the fact that the Dodgers were hitting Michael Conforto, Ha-Seong Kim, Miguel Rojas, and James Outman 6 through 9 in their lineup. They now have Max Muncy back. Tommy Edman and Teoscar Hernandez were on the bench that day. They will both be in the lineup tonight. The Dodgers in that game, and Yamamoto got hit hard. That does not matter to me at all. The Dodgers in that game closed minus 137 to minus 145 market wide. They are a better team now than they are then. Their bullpen is better now because they're able to consolidate their starters into their bullpen. Their lineup is better now because, as I said, Muncy, Edman, and Teoscar Hernandez were not in the lineup that day. I made them minus 124 favorites that day. There was no bet for me on the money line. I was right in alignment with the Brewers money line, which was closer to plus 125. However, I make them minus 135 for the same matchup in the same ballpark with a better lineup and better bullpen than they had just a few months ago. So minus 135, same matchup, same ballpark. Minus 125 is where I projected it last time. The market closed minus 145 the first time. It opened minus 120 for game 2. And to me, that's just betting odds or books trying to anticipate people coming in and betting the Brewers and saying, surely there's no way they win 2 games in a row or lose 2 games in a row at home. Just like people were saying yesterday with the Blue Jays. The most delightful notification I saw when I entered my Mariners bet into the app before yesterday's game, I'd seen people already enter bets on the Blue Jays that said they won't lose 2 in a row at home. That is like what I love to see more than anything else, is people just like proclaiming, that's why I'm betting this team. There's no way they're going to lose 2 in a row. I think people are betting the Brewers today for that reason. Dodgers have already moved up from -120 to -125. I would be willing to bet this closes closer to -135 than it does to -120. I think it does get up to -135 eventually. So Dodgers up to -125 is where I'd bet it. I project it -136 for today. The other piece I'll mention, and a reason why I like the Dodgers in this spot, Roki Sasaki threw last night. May not see him again tonight. Threw 22 pitches. He looked a little shaky. He had thrown 36 pitches in game 4 against the Phillies, which was 3 days prior. You would anticipate that he would be fully recovered. Since Roki came back to the big leagues in September, he hadn't thrown more than 12 pitches in any outing. 12 pitches. That's how efficient he had been. In every single outing he had come into, threw triple the number of pitches, 3 days of rest. This is all still new to him. This is a guy who was pitching in Japan on 5 days of rest, 5 full days of rest, 6 days of rest total. Now he's, come into the rotation, sent down to the minors, come back up as a reliever. This is not, a routine he's accustomed to whatsoever. And I don't know how his arm, we saw Logan Gilbert yesterday look terrible, off of 30 plus pitches out of the bullpen, right? And he came back after a few days of rest, and I thought there was a chance he would be a little bit declined. He looked terrible. Every single slider was flat from him. So when you're going through new routines as a pitcher, as an athlete, I think sometimes your effectiveness declines, 1, mentally and 2, physically. So that was definitely an issue for Sasaki yesterday. The Dodgers are going to have to figure it out behind him tonight. But their bullpen is much better rested than the Brewers' bullpen. The Brewers, and in the same respect, Abner Uribe came in and threw 20-plus shaky pitches yesterday. The announcers were calling him out as a guy who may have to sit today because of how shaky he looked. And then on top of that, they used Tyler McGill and Aaron Ashby for the 3rd time in 5 days and Chad Patrick for the 4th time in 6 days. So the Brewers bullpen, normally better, they're a bit more tired tonight than the Dodgers bullpen is. Their key relievers are a bit more worn out tonight than the Dodgers bullpen are. And also, they've already given the Dodgers 1 look each at all of their best arms. The Dodgers have not given the Brewers any looks at anybody besides Sasaki and Trinan. So first looks each for all the Brewers hitters tonight. Second looks each for all the Dodgers hitters tonight against the Brewers' best relievers. We've seen the stats as these series extend. It does tend to be, or does tend to move the edge and tip the edge a little bit in the hitter's favor the more times they're able to get a look at an opposing reliever in a series. So definitely think the bullpen factor helps the Dodgers tonight, on top of Yamamoto projecting as a better pitcher than Freddie Peralta. And I don't even need to go into that. I really don't. It's in the numbers, but just go back to what I cited with regard to the same matchup in the same ballpark in July. Again, I do not care that Yamamoto got hit in that start whatsoever. His home road splits are identical. His lefty-righty splits are identical. There's nothing to suggest that that was anything other than just an outlier performance and happened to be his worst start of the season in this park. But the market already told you this game should be -135 at a minimum and probably higher, considering the Dodgers lineup upgrades relative to the first time they played.
And, if you were concerned about that first July start, I'm glad you brought that up because I was looking at that as well. And it was a confluence of factors as to why Yamamoto got roughed up. So even if you were worried about that, like, he gave up a 3-run homer to Andrew Vaughn, right? And then another walk to Bryce Terang. And then he's out of the inning with Caleb Durbin hitting a ground ball to Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts threw it away. 2 more runs scored. Yamamoto was at 41 pitches, and he got pulled before the first inning ended. Like, he was going to end that inning down 3-0, but he was going to be able to continue pitching. And then to your point about, and, this was a conversation all regular season about how much the Dodgers care about the regular season, how much they're willing to kind of punt these kind of situations. The pitchers who came in behind Yamamoto, Jack Dreyer threw 2 1/3 innings. Jack Dreyer's good. He's a part of their postseason plan. That's great. Behind Dreyer, Lou Trevino, Will Klein, Anthony Banda, Julian Fernandez. Like, they punted that game, essentially. They fell down They fell down 5-0 early, and they said, all right, we'll get him tomorrow. Freddie Freeman got pinch hit for Dalton Rushing late in that game. Estuary Ruiz came in for Andy Pajes in that game. Like, that is the last game you want to look at if you're looking for like a correlation to Peralta against Yamamoto tonight. So agree with everything you said there.
I didn't even mention that was the worst month of the year for Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts too. Like the Dodgers were also just in a complete slump, offensively. Obviously, Betts is hitting better now. Freeman is hitting better now. But yeah, I mean, that was like the worst moment of the year for the Dodgers was mid-July. Now they're obviously a significantly
right out of the
better
All-Star
team,
break.
but also everybody's playing better too. So yeah, definitely just think there should be an upward adjustment instead of downward. I didn't mention Yamamoto's under strikeouts. That was the other bet I have on this game. Action Labs makes it 5.7. They had it at 5 last night. They upgraded it to 5.7 today. If you take his outs, hits, and walks props together, the market puts him around 23 batters faced tonight. He averaged 22.8 this season, so 23 is probably on the money. But if you take the Brewers strikeout rate, you can get him closer to 4.5 strikeouts. If you take his strikeout rate, you get him around 6.8 strikeouts at that number. Take the Brewers strikeout rate, you get him closer to 4.5. You combine those together, 5.5, 5.7 is a very reasonable projection for Yamamoto tonight. So under 6.5 open plus money, I would take that to minus 120.
I'll bring up then right off top, I'm curious your thoughts on my Yamamoto bet, which is over 1.5 walks. He walked 2 or more in 19 of 30 starts this year. He walked 2 against the Reds in his first postseason start. Just 1 against the Phillies last time out. Obviously, only threw 67 pitches. We expect him to have a longer leash. Today, he walked 2. Again, he faced the Brewers twice this year. Walked 2 in one start. Walked 1 in the other. Or, I'm sorry, he faced them once, and he walked 2 in that one start we mentioned. Minus 110, essentially getting coin flip odds at over 1.5 walks. Any interest there? Any projection there, or are you just sticking to the strikeouts?
Yeah, I didn't project it. I will tell you, though, the umpire, John Libka, is hitter friendly and did upgrade my projected total relative to what it would be against a pitcher neutral umpire, a neutral umpire in general. You never know what you're going to get from these umpires from one game to the next. Or it's James Hoyt today. My apologies. So I was looking at the wrong guy. And Libka, I believe, was the umpire yesterday for the Blue Jays, for game 3 for the Blue Jays. But it's actually the crew chief, which is James Hoy, today for the Dodgers Brewers game 3. And Hoy, for his career, is at 11.9% strikeout minus walk, which is a tick and a half below the major league average. His strikeout rate is lower than the league average. His walk rate is about on par with the league average. But again, that does mean to me less likely to get those called strike threes than you would otherwise. So that helps the under on strikeouts, and it should, in theory, help the over on walks if you're going to be getting more ball calls than strike calls on borderline pitches. So yeah, I would lean that direction. Certainly not something I projected. Prefer the under Ks, but I think over outs, at a better number than under strikeouts could be an option. If you're getting minus 110 on over walks, but it's minus 120 on under strikeouts, I might lean to the over walks at that point.
Yeah, and kind of anecdotally, I just, the Brewers are a team that takes its fair share of walks. Top 4 walk rate against right-handed pitching this year, and they weren't doing that at all yesterday against Snell. They were trying to hit Snell early, obviously came back to bite them. Only 103 pitches, an 8 shutout, probably could have come back out for the 9th. They took 3 walks late, obviously, against Sasaki and Trinan, but the Dodgers bullpen is such a tire fire right now that if they're looking at a game 2 strategy against Yamamoto, it's we want to get to this bullpen as quickly as possible. We're going to take pitches. We're going to work deep counts. Works in the favor of potentially drawing a few more walks. So Yamamoto being more walk heavy than the average starting pitcher, than Blake Snell, certainly. And then just that thought process about them maybe trying to go as hard as they can into getting into that LA bullpen, because if you're just letting the starting pitcher go 7-8 innings, you're in trouble, because that's the one big weak spot in the LA line in the LA entirely is the bullpen. By the way, speaking of the umpires, we haven't even talked about the insane play, the insane double play last night. We've had so many just, a ball hitting the foul pole, crushing it under, and you got to give credit to the umpires. Got to give credit to Brian Anderson as well in the announcer's booth. Everyone knew exactly what happened as it happened, except for the Dodgers base runners. Like, the one thing from the rule book that got cited a lot afterwards is once the ball hit Frelick's glove, it didn't matter if he caught it anymore, because sacrifice fly rules is once it touches the glove, you can advance. Like, he could bobble it 6 times, and then it doesn't matter if it's a catch or not. You don't need to tag up anymore at that point. Like, Hernandez and whoever was on second, I forget, Will Smith or something, they should have been off the second that ball hit Frelick's glove. Instead, they stood around like, did he catch it? Did he not catch it? It didn't matter. They needed to take off. Perfectly executed. And my favorite part of the play was William Contreras getting the out at home plate. And then the play was already so insane that he's like, if I throw this ball to third, it's going to get like sucked up into a space-time continuum or something. I'm just going to run it there. I'm going to run into third base to get that out. The only thing that would have made it more perfect is if there were no outs and they got a triple play out of it. But
yeah,
I loved the play-by-play that Max Muncy grounded into an 8-6-2 double play.
It's the first 8-6-2 double play since 2004. Ken Griffey Jr. went back on a ball at Wrigley Field, robbed Sammy Sosa, and then the runner, I believe, tried to tag from all the way from second base, and was thrown out at home. So, like, all the way to the back wall at Wrigley, runner tried to tag round third and score from home, and Griffey gunned him out at the plate. So that was an 8-6-2 double play. Just shows you, the video shows you how ridiculous in comparison the one last night was. Getting the force out at home all the way at center field, because that Griffey one was not a force out at home.
Yeah.
Getting a force out from center field is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I watch a lot of baseball, folks. I'm in the 99.9 percentile of people who watch and consume baseball. The idea that a play this ridiculous would happen in the NLCS of all the games that happen this season is just absurd. It's just absurd. It's ridiculous. It's not even a good defensive play. It's a bad base running play.
Yeah.
It's a hilarious play. It's a ridiculous play.
Like, the defense still had to execute, and they did perfectly. That relay home was perfect.
They executed it.
The relay never should have happened. Like, it shouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, and the fact that the play at home was bang bang too made it even more enjoyable. Like, if Teoscar doesn't run ultimately and they're just able to force the ball at home, it's one thing. The fact that it was like a sliding bang bang play and he almost was safe but wasn't safe made it even more hysterical. So I'm glad, for the purposes of the under, that ball did not go out, because I think that would have changed and been an inflection point for the game. If the Dodgers go up 5-0, you don't see the Brewers' best arms late in the game. You don't see Sasaki in the 9th inning, and probably that game may land on 8. There may be some late scoring if lesser relievers are coming in. So I'm grateful that Sal Frelick was able to make that play, because it might have just totally flipped the outcome in terms of the runs.
Yeah, if that ball goes out, we're looking at Grant Anderson and Tobias Myers at the end of that game, and Robert Gasser instead of Uribe and Koenig and McGill.
Should note, though, like MLB Deserve to Win-O-Meter, MLB Simulator, all of their game results typically are like 2-1, low scoring, low probability of runs. This team should have maybe beat this team. The likeliest outcome is almost always 2-1 on MLB Simulator. They had Dodgers with 7 deserved runs yesterday. 7-1 was the expected outcome from that game. So they went 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position, left 11 runners on base. The Brewers didn't get a runner into scoring position until the 9th inning because Snell was so good.
Yeah, the one base runner he allowed, he picked off. So
yes, yeah, he faced the minimum through I believe it was 7 or 8, right? So it just goes to show the Brewers are going to need to barrel some baseballs in order to win this series. You can't do it all with 8-6-2 double plays and continuing to get ridiculous luck with runners on base. You're going to have to barrel some baseballs and hit some homers to win this series at some point.
Yeah. The one other stat I saw about that double play, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'll butcher it a little bit, but it was the longest farthest hit ball that resulted in a
Yep.
double play since I think 2019. Byron Buxton made some ridiculous catch and then doubled a guy off. So it was, but this one was 404 feet.
Yeah, he
I
threw it back
believe.
to first. The runner had gone like the
Yes.
third. Yep, I saw that play too. Yeah, so but it just goes to show you all these other plays that we're trying to cite as comparisons are like not routine baseball plays, but plays you've seen before. You know,
Yeah.
plays that if you've watched baseball, you've seen it. This was just I've never seen a play like this. The announcers remarked on never seeing a play like this.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
you can
like
watch a lot of baseball
it reminded me of the World Series Rays Dodgers end of game with Rosarina tripping around third after Chris Taylor booted the ball in the outfield. It's like if that happened during a regular season game, I would be like, "Wow, that's crazy." Instead, it happened in a fucking World Series game.
It'd be like if the
Javi
Javi Baez Pirates play where Javi like backed up running to first and eluded
never
the tag.
forget that. That was like a Tuesday
imagine if that
afternoon,
happened
too.
in a playoff game. You know, we're talking about that kind of rarity of a play, but occurring in a huge game with a lot of national eyeballs on it, which just elevates the level of insanity. So yeah, that was a unique playoff moment for sure.
Before we get out of here, I do have a couple hitter props as usual, and then we'll build a quick SGP on this. I've got one hitter prop on each side here, in addition to Yamamoto over walks, as I mentioned. On the Dodger side, I am going to go back to Max Muncy, who hit that ball, the aforementioned play we just talked about that almost went out. 2+ bases at plus 200 to hit a home run at plus 550. He projects as well against Peralta's main offerings as any hitter in the LA lineup tonight. Peralta, you know, he's a four-seamer guy more than half the time, 53%, changeup 21%, and then curveball 15, slider 9. So we're looking at the four-seamer and the changeup. Muncy's the only one in the lineup who hits above his expected WOBA and slugging against the four-seamer and the changeup. Everyone else, except Andy Pages, grades out poorly against both of those top two pitches. Everyone else grades out positively against one of those pitches. Muncy's the only one with 2. So I like his bases and his home run. The only thing that I worry about with Muncy, as we've talked about in the past, is that he just is a walk merchant. So he's only like plus 104 to draw a walk today. So I stayed away with that from that. I'll take a risk here on his bases and his home run. Again, plus 200, plus 550. The Brewers side, there was a couple of options here against Yamamoto's offerings. You know, Yamamoto has a much more wide array of pitches. Four-seamer is his most used pitch, is only 35.6% of the time, and then the splitter 25, curve 17, cutter 11, sinker 7. Sale Frelick actually grades out well against both the four-seamer and splitter, but I'm going to go with William Contreras here, who hits well against he hits well against the four-seamer. It doesn't like trigger as a green mark in my my spreadsheet here, but he hits well against it. And then the splitter, curve, cutter, and sinker are all great pitches for him. So I like him tonight. Again, 2+ bases, the same odds as Muncy, plus 200, and then to hit a home run, plus 650. So really good odds there. We'll be splitting up a unit on each. Essentially, I go 3/4 unit on the bases, quarter unit on the home run. If we hit just one of those, we should break a little bit above average. Sean, curious here of the props I just listed. So for our SGP today, we'll go with your 2 bets. Pretty easy. Dodgers money line, Yamamoto strikeouts under. And then of the ones I just mentioned, anyone stand out to you in particular in terms of adding a little juice to our SGP tonight?
Yeah, I was clicking around in the Dodgers Brewers Game 3 page in the Action Network app. I went onto the prop tab to see where our predictive analytics team projected those props for tonight. They make Muncy home run about plus 420, and they make Contreras home run about plus 575. The Muncy odds relative to plus 480 is about a 2% edge. The Contreras odds at plus 650 is about a 1.5% edge. So it's a slightly bigger edge on Muncy, considering I do have the Dodgers money line. That is the angle I'd prefer. I don't really want to include a Contreras homer in a bet with the Dodgers necessarily, despite the reverse correlation. But I would go with Muncy. That was my gut instinct regardless. But it does seem like there is an edge on both of those guys, the homer tonight, per our predictive analytics people. So if there's an edge to homer, I would imagine there's an edge on the 2+ bases as well. And if you're betting 2+ bases on Muncy, always bet the homer because he's
Yeah.
walk or swing for the fences come playoff time.
Yep. All right. Well, that'll be our SGP then. Dodgers money line, Yamamoto under 6.5 walks, and then a Max Muncy home run comes out at 15-1 at DraftKings.
Yeah.
So a little couch change there for you. But we will be back tomorrow. We have game 3 between the Blue Jays and Mariners, with the series shifting back to Seattle. Really excited to see again if the Blue Jays can become the 4th team to come back from 2-0 after losing the first 2 at home. I know from our futures standpoint, we're not rooting for it, but
that building is going to be bumping in Seattle tomorrow night.
Yes, it is.
First time seeing their team after the walk-off win. They go on the road, win 2 huge games, swing a series win probability 45%, 35% in their direction, from 45% to 80%, 85% implied even. Absolutely cannot overstate how big those wins were for the Mariners and how excited their fans are going to be to greet them tomorrow.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before recording, but we talked about the stat of the 3 teams coming back from 0-2, losing those first 2 games at home. And I feel like there's a really strong correlation to those 96 Yankees. Obviously, this was in the World Series. But for those old enough to remember watching the 96 World Series, I remember I was 9 years old. My dad's a diehard St. Louis Cardinals fan, so I was really invested in baseball that year. The Cardinals went up 3-1 on the Braves in the NLCS that year. They were up 3-1. The Braves won the last 3 games of the NLCS, 14-0, 3-1, and then 15-0. So they went into the World Series absolutely scorching hot. Won game 1 against the Yankees 12-1. Won game 2 4-0 behind Greg Maddux and John Smoltz starting those 2 games.
Both
and
at
then
home,
the Yankees
no, those were on the road.
Yeah, in Yankee Stadium, they won 12-1 with Smoltz beating Pettit, won 4-0 with Maddux beating Jimmy Key, and then the Yankees won 4 straight. And the Mariners are running so hot right now. The emotional Game 5 win over the Tigers. They come out with their hair on fire, games 1 and 2 in Toronto. You just wonder if it's going to cool off at some point and things are going to even out a little bit. Again, from the standpoint of our futures, I hope not. But I just remember that Braves team, and then the Yankees just kind of cooling them off at some point.
Braves had that rotation too. I mean, the Mariners got the rotation. It
exactly.
is a pretty good comparison, yeah.
Exactly. So we'll see. Again, we'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about that game and more. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to tail some of the bets from today's episode, look for the quick slip links in the episode description or visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app, and also please leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to the podcast. And be sure to check out our new AI quick slip bot on X. Just tag Playbook at Playbook. Tell it to grab whatever bet you're looking for. It'll create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. More MLB playoff best bets today, tomorrow, through the end of the World Series. For Sean Zerillo, I'm Collin Whitchurch. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast, and good luck with all your bets.